You must have been exhausted.
I flunked it past the first time. Next time I got a teacher.
How you doing?
Because I got
Pretty
rid of
good.
it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I
never got
breezed
Always.
through. Yeah.
Running.
And then I breezed through, well, the fourth semester.
Yeah, just
I did a
between
computer.
kids.
Love chemistry.
Beating.
Yeah, I'll be sorry. Chemistry's all
Love
fine.
chemistry. That all made sense to me,
Yeah.
not the calculus.
How about you?
Yeah,
So she's
yeah, that
sick.
would,
She's sick.
let me see if she's got it.
Okay.
Gotta go down.
Yeah,
from the kids.
Oh, when are you hanging?
Must have been when computers were just starting.
Oh, yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
filled the
Had a
room.
lady in
Early
today
80s.
that-
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So.
Yeah.
I picked something that was in third
And then you'll
semester, tried
drive
to
here.
speak with
Sure.
medicine, passed the second semester at that point. So that way we couldn't go solve the problem by hand. Like the cards do it for us.
Yeah, but you.
Okay. We're just.
Have an assistant.
Okay.
Look, it's tough,
He can
especially
do it
for
all.
someone.
Yeah, that's good. When I get.
You ready, Dirk?
Yeah,
All right, is everybody ready?
Did you end up?
Mr.
No, because you reached.
Checking on him.
I
Okay.
was down to.
Should we give him a few minutes or?
For who?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Javon?
Oh, I wonder if he's gonna make it tonight with the weather.
And I ended up like more than 20 in the hole.
What's that?
because of the
It's
changes.
6:35.
I walked
We'll try
away.
and call.
I wouldn't, I bet you he's,
Well, maybe
I'll just to make sure he's okay.
Just to say you finished,
Oh, I know. I thought about it a
just
couple
to
times.
say,
Yeah.
just to say you
Are you gonna
finished.
hold off on the presentation?
Because the problem is,
Oh.
I'm so far.
I'm kicking it off.
I moved into the
Oh,
computer.
Can you text him or do you wanna call him?
I'll have his cell phone.
Oh, okay.
And then
Don't worry about it.
my career, the next 30
No, I
years.
get it.
I was working on computers, not engineering.
It's just
anymore.
you. Just to say, I finished.
You weren't alone.
It was one course that, nah.
This is the real meeting.
No, it's not at this point. Yeah.
We're just checking on Mr. Coleman.
Completely unrelated.
Mr. Coleman.
Oh, that would have been nice.
I was gonna do that, and then all of a sudden that went down.
Still be in the
You have kids then?
Yeah,
It's hard to.
that was a challenge. I mean, it was one thing with Bonnie on the first grade.
Right, it's just the two of you.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, kids show up.
Yeah, it definitely changed.
Yeah, it was-
Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order. So thank you very much. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Mary Ann,
Here.
Scott,
I am here.
Amy,
Here.
Dirk,
Here.
Brian.
Here,
I am here. Danny is excused this evening. So may I have a motion and a second to approve the roll?
motion to approve the roll?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, next is the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So move?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Minutes of previous meetings. Any questions on the minutes from our previous meetings? Okay, motion, may I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Communications, does anybody have any?
I actually got a call from a parent. They were saying it was going to be cold outside. What were our parameters?
Hmm.
And maybe you can just
Yeah.
mention.
So we look at the wind chill now as far as what the real feel is gonna be. Usually anywhere around -20 is where we're going to look to close for the day due to cold weather. So we're watching tomorrow. I've seen -10, -12. As we inch closer, we'll keep an eye on it.
And I explained to this parent, it's always the parent option to
Yes,
stay home. It
Yes.
relies on them. So
yes.
thank you.
Any other communications? Okay, unfinished business, we have none. So Dr. Genestri is superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Belanti. We have our friends here tonight. Last week, we talked to the board about our overall 3 through 8 testing and where we are in comparison with our neighbors and other districts in Western New York. Tonight, we want to go through building by building. And first of all, I want to say thank you all for braving the nice weather that we're having in Western New York to be here tonight. But wanted to invite Dr. Wilson up to kind of lead the presentation, and we'll have various people tonight speaking to the board. So thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. So as Dr. Janestri mentioned, we're going to be going back over our 3 through 8 ELA and math assessments. The overall data points that we shared last week do not tell the full story. So tonight, we have building leaders here who will go over all the excitement that's going on back at their schools, the things that they're really proud of that they'll be able to point out in their data, but then also share some items on things they're doing to continue to improve. As always, we want to hone in on our 3 goals, goal 1, 2, and 3, teaching and learning, future focus, whole child. Always the foundation as we work towards every student, one community, ready for the future. So last week, Ms. Jason, you asked a question about our subgroups, and were there some highlights that we could share there with our district subgroups, some celebrations, and where we're continuing to work. So as you look at our highlights there, our Black students increased up in their proficiency in ELA in grades 4, 5, and 7, and math in grades 4, 5, and 7, and 8. Now, I want to point out that usually schools want to look at a 3 to 5% increase to see a significant increase. I want to point out that the highest increase, the biggest jump here was at 7th grade, where we had a double digit, well into the double digit, 24% increase in ELA. Principal Daria.
Wow.
At 7th grade again, in math, 17% increase for our Black students. Our L students increased their proficiency levels in ELA by 16%, again, double digits, in grades 3 and in 4, that's 2 grade levels, right? And in math, 33% at 5th grade across the district. Our economically disadvantaged students increased their proficiency level in ELA in grades 3, 4, 5, and 7, with the biggest jump being at 4th grade at 19%. Elementary principals.
Dr. Wilson, does some of these groups take up 2 groups?
Yes. Take up
So,
2,
one maybe African-American, but then disadvantaged. So does that affect the numbers at all, them being in 2 groups?
they're counted in those individual groups, but they can have multiple
Overlap?
designations, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they can. And then at math, a big jump at 4th grade and 5th grade, 14 percentage point increase at 5th grade. Some huge success there, closing the gap with our subgroups. Our continued areas of focus would be really looking at increasing proficiency across all of our subgroups, all of our students, right? We want to look at ethnicity, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged, ELs, and homeless. So our largest subgroup is economically disadvantaged. We're at 55% there. And so making shifts in each of these subgroups really does overall impact our entire school results.
Thank you for getting this together. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there's quite a few celebrations. We have many ways we can slice and dice it and celebrate. And so you're about to hear some more. Coming up next, we have Principal Delaplante, who's going to join us to talk about Glendale.
Thanks, everyone. So I'm super, super proud. This will be my 4th year at Glendale. And you will see that in ELA, the first graph, we have jumped up and increased 10% with a 10% increase for ELA, which we are super, super excited for. And then on the second graph, you'll see that our math for grades 3 through 5, we had an increase from 42% to 50, which is another 8 percentage point increase. We're really starting with ELA. One of the areas of focus my first year was really for ELA and math and across the board was really strengthening the core. So our teachers really focused on, areas that we need to really fix, whether that was social, emotional, or any areas in ELA, but really focusing on the core instruction. We noticed that one of our biggest weaknesses was we didn't have a word study program. So we kind of had some conversations around it. through our professional development on superintendent's conference days from grades UPK through grades 5 to understand a little bit more about word study and what that looks like across the board. And then our team at kindergarten actually piloted, wanted to get into a new program, which is called UFly. It's a research evidence-based program. And the teachers loved it. And teachers started to hear other teachers talking in the faculty room. All they could talk about was UFly. And as teachers started talking, more teachers wanted to learn more about it. Which then in conversations with Dr. Kozakowski and Dr. Wilson, can we try to pilot something new at Glendale with our UFly? We started with K through 2. We are now at K through 4. We have put in a lot of professional work with our literacy coach, Leanne Hildreth, who then has turnkeyed and really true coaching style K through 4 with our program. And I believe that because our students have a solid phonics instruction, it has given them the confidence to break apart words and read. And over the past 4 years now, we're seeing that increase, especially now we're in winter benchmarking. We're super excited to dive into that. And it's giving our kids that confidence. And I think that's both impacting both, you know, ELA, math, and even in science. We had an increase in science as well. We're super, super grateful for that. And we're looking forward to, you know, adding more so that we can see those increases as the kids kind of start looping up, which I think that's what you'll start seeing in the next couple of years. We're also strengthening our math curriculum as well. You'll see over the years that spiral. Now everybody has had a couple of years under the belt with our new math curriculum, which is great. Heavy coaching there with Molly DePiro in the classrooms, talking about ways that we can increase some of the things within the new program to really help our level 2 students with the tier 2 work, really closing the gap there. And then also one of the biggest things that I really do believe that has had a huge impact in my tenure at Glendale is just really strengthening the SEL needs that we needed at our building. You guys know my first 2 years, I collected a lot of data around behaviors, around emotional regulation, dysregulation, and having that focus, not just with our kids, but our teachers to give them the tools to really work with our kids. Our kids see themselves as learners. They're confident, their stamina has increased, and they truly do see themselves as learners. And I think I'm hopeful and very proud of the work that our teachers and students have done. And I'm really excited to see where they're gonna head to, because I think you're gonna see more increases, and I'm hoping that will transfer up into the middle school too.
Can I ask you one question? When you say we're celebrating, do the kids, because obviously they're involved in it, do you like have a day where they can watch a movie or a day, like how are we celebrating with them?
Yeah, I think that's the great part of Leader in Me. Kids know their WIGs. So I know there's ELA and math that is mentioned there, but you know, Cheryl Aldrich does a great job with science to get our kids ready with their investigations. They have goals, 80% to reach on their next test. She's got graphs up. She will send them to me. I put them in the announcements. The kids see it. So we're always looking for opportunities to share out their growth. And that's, I think, when it comes to our student-led conferences, the kids are able to celebrate their growth with that.
So has phonics ever disappeared from the reading curriculum? I remember the days of hooked on phonics. I'm just curious.
No, I think like UFly, what's great is it's a spiraled, it's continuous. So it's never going away. The kids, they're constantly repeating. Sometimes we always talk about under practicing and over teaching, where UFly gives a lot of opportunities for kids to constantly practice and review and then embed it in different ways. Which that then helps them.
Okay, it sounded like you were bringing phonics back in or using it more aggressively, unless I heard you wrong.
Yes, it's a direct instruction time for 30 minutes every day.
Okay, all right, I'm all for that, just so you
Good.
know. Thank you. I'm glad it's working. Thank
Yeah.
you.
The others?
Can you send us some information about that U Fly? Because I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, sure.
I'd love to. Okay, you found
Yeah,
it.
and come on down, like if you ever want to see it in action, when you see our kindergartners and their letter formation, you'd be blown away. Yeah, it's great. Okay.
Stella Plan?
Stepping in for Heritage Heights, we have Dr.
See,
Kozakowski.
I spelled it.
Principal Perry is unable to join us tonight, so we have the extraordinaire,
Can you send that to
Dr. Kozakowski, stepping in to support Heritage Heights.
So if you look at the proficiency rates for Heritage 3 through 5 ELA, you'll notice an 8 percentage point increase from 24 to 25. Looking at math 3 to 5, you'll notice a 4-point increase. So some of the mentions that I will share for Heritage Heights will have some overlap with what Ms. Delaplante just shared for Glendale, which is wonderful because we're striving to be consistent across the 4 elementary buildings. So one of the highlights to note was a 66% proficiency rate in grade 4 math. When you compare grade 4 ELA proficiency, there was an increase from 29% in 2024 to 58% in 25. So an area to continue to work on is actually build off of what Ms. Delaplante just shared. So solid UFly implementation K-2. So an area that they're looking to continue to extend and grow is in 3 through 5s, and really that practical application and embedding it into the content areas. So as was just mentioned, it's really that explicit word study 30-minute block. But then as students continue to grow and reach into the higher grade levels, how are they utilizing and doing that practical application across content areas? So right now at Heritage, they're really spending some time focusing on what does that look like in 4th grade in the area of social studies. Some areas to continue to grow. We're very fortunate to have really strong instructional coaches at our elementary buildings. And so we have Heather Reichmuth as our literacy coach, and we have Kim Gugino as our math coach that are really providing some intentional support. And so one thing to mention, if you skip down to that last point, is there's a lot of opportunities for grade level collaboration, and our coaches are really instrumental in leading that work because they take a really thorough look at all 4 elementary buildings, and in Heritage this is a huge focus for them, is really identifying where are those achievement gaps. So looking at the New York State assessment, so there's so many reports that we can, get with that information, but we have an opportunity in the NextEra system to look at the constructed responses. And so that was a worry that when we went all in for the computer-based testing, can we still see what those responses look like and how do we learn from them? So what they're doing is really focusing on what are some themes that we're noticing, and then how are we sharing that information in collaboration times with grade levels to make sure we're addressing it. At Heritage, there's also the WIN intervention block, the What I Need block. So it's for all students with targeted interventions and continuously progress monitoring, and then making sure that we're really flexible with small group instruction, making sure that we need to make changes in programs or recommendations that those are happening continuously. Thank you.
Actually, I have a question. Sorry. So the grade 4, the proficiency, 30% increase is great, but the 4th graders in 2024 are now 5th graders in 2025. So I'd be interested in the cohort numbers. So if we were 24% proficient as 4th graders in ELA, what's their proficiency level as 5th graders in 2025? Because we're kind of comparing 2 different groups, which is fine. And it's great for the grade level teachers that they're, the increase is there, but I'd be interested in the cohort proficiencies.
So if you look at that first point with the 66 proficiency, to your point, in grade 3 for math, that same cohort was 55%
Okay.
proficient.
Still-
So it's not all highlighted right here, but you're right that we do look at it because you're right, you're looking at that same group of students and then how are they progressing?
I'd be interested in the cohort numbers, so.
Sorry.
So just to add to that, you're talking about comparing apples to oranges, right? Like students who are progressing through versus a grade level,
Yes.
fourth grade compared to fourth grade. We have a full report that we have with all of the numbers. It's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
know
numbers.
you do.
We can send that out,
Thank
so
you.
you all can look at it and pick out the things that you want to ask more questions about if you have
Great.
questions about it.
Thank you.
So we are very lucky tonight. We have the dynamic duo right, of coaches joining us, Julie Roberto and Bonnie Lorenz, our literacy coach and our math coach. They're able to step in for Principal Ryan, and they're going to share their highlights around Maplemere.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Bonnie Lorenz and I'm the math coach at Maplemere. Our math data continues to show strong outcomes. Overall, we've maintained a 60% proficiency rate with particularly strong growth in our fifth graders. We increased that group from, in 2024, they had 49%, and then I know it's a different group of students this year, but they went from 49 to 64%. These gains are a result of consistent collaborative planning, instructional planning, ongoing data analysis, and targeted coaching support. Looking ahead, our data also helps us identify where we need to focus next. Grade 3 results highlight the importance of targeted math support. In response, our third grade team has weekly meetings that focus on planning and using data to drive our instruction. Math instruction at Maplemere also prioritizes the whole child. Students are intentionally grouped based on current learning needs, and those groups are revisited regularly to ensure instruction remains responsive and equitable. Classrooms emphasize collaboration, problem solving, and safe spaces where students explain their thinking, learn from their mistakes, and build confidence as mathematicians. Our goal is for all students to feel capable, supported, and willing to take academic risks.
Hi, my name is Julie Roberto. I'm the literacy coach at Maplemere, and I'm excited to share our 2025 ELA data with you. Overall, our ELA proficiency increased from 55% in 2024 to 61% in 2025, reflecting meaningful growth across the building. Two highlights we're especially proud of are in fourth grade, we increased proficiency by 20%. And in fifth grade, we increased proficiency by 29%. And so to answer your question about the same cohort, our third to fourth grade, they went from 73% proficiency as third graders to 74% proficiency as fourth graders. And then our cohort who's currently in fifth grade, they went from 54% proficiency in fourth grade up to 65% proficiency in fifth grade, which we are really excited about. So these gains reflect the collective work of the students, our principal, teachers, support staff. And when we, thinking about our areas of need, when we identify a need, we respond very intentionally. We've established a strong, consistent literacy core across K-5. Every grade team has been extensively coached in its implementation. In addition to every teacher participating in coaching, we also have highly structured data days where teams meet with their instructional coach to analyze formative assessment data. We identify whole group strengths and areas of concern, and then we set individual student goals for every student at Maplemere. Our principal, Mr. Ryan, also meets regularly with me and Bonnie to ensure that we have the support that we need. We feel that our results are not accidental. Over the past 6 years, we've made a sustained commitment to strengthen our K-5 literacy core. We have aligned instructional practices across every single grade level. And this long-term focus has helped ensure that we're all moving in the same direction. So we're really proud of the progress. We remain committed to continuous improvement as we continue supporting all of our learners.
I have one question.
Yeah.
It's actually, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Ryan was kind enough to respond lengthy email to me about the question I had for him our last meeting. And it had to do with just looping results. What do you use, Ames Web or something like that? What's the name of the?
So we use AimsWeb as a screener.
Yeah.
But we also use other assessments in literacy that we do 3 times a year to have data on students as our formative assessment.
So it was intriguing that you can bring that back to the student and provide whatever need or support for that student. And
Yes.
Again, thank you for me. I didn't get a chance to respond to his
Sure.
his email. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. Just in looking at the scores in general, I mean, it looks like, there's a range of almost 20% between the grade schools. And so given that we are all one district, I'm just wondering, like, is that difference attributed to socioeconomic, which I'm sure there's an element of it, but is the curriculum fairly consistent in the teaching methods across the schools?
Go ahead.
Because it seems like, a decent
Yeah.
range
And
for
and Dr.
all the.
Kozakowski can join me also. That's a really great question. One thing that we have been able to do over the years is look at comparison schools, basically looking at your demographic makeup and how do you compare to schools that are like you, similar schools. And the interesting thing about Sweet Home schools is that when you look at all 4 of our elementary schools, you would think if Willow Ridge, if we plug them in, we get Glendale as a comparison school. And that is absolutely not the case. Each one of our elementary schools is so drastically different in their demographics that they actually don't qualify to be comparison schools when New York State is looking at comparison schools. Our school districts that we found that we are compared to are in places across the state. So that shares one element around the comparison of demographics I think you called out at the beginning of your question. But we're also constantly working on looking at how we become more consistent across the district. I'm going to let Dr. Kozakowski talk about that a little bit because we just had a great meeting with the principals earlier today in which they were talking about interventions and she was leading a portion of that. So amen.
So to your point about consistency, so we did implement illustrative math across all 4 elementary buildings. So we did a K-2-4 rollout and then a 1-3-5. And so at all 4 buildings, now we're in full implementation and the training and support was really consistent with that. Through our MTSS review process, as far as interventions that we have available, that's really a strong focus as we identify an area of need and then making sure that we're providing those resources consistently across all 4 of the elementary buildings and then choosing resources that are a fit for all of our students, knowing that there are differences at the buildings, but then making sure that we're building systems to be able to sustain the ongoing training, taking into consideration that, staff members may change roles or we may have some new hires. So that's a focus there. And then our literacy work, we have a literacy and elementary committee that's really doing a thorough review of what our needs are, the resources that are being used, and taking into consideration, what's come out with the literacy briefs and all of the new initiatives from the state so that we're moving forward together. We touched upon it for a couple schools, but looking at that constructed responses that the students provide and looking at the assessment data, the elementary math and literacy coaches, we meet at least once a month and the principals are a part of that as well because we want to make sure that we're comparing trends. So we may notice that instructional practices that we're using or what students are representing in their assessments, are we seeing that maybe acronyms that are being used, graphic organizers, is it in isolation or are these things that we're noticing that are in common and comparing the success and weakness? So definitely that consistency is something that we're continuing to focus on.
Do you, like each school has its strengths. So I know you're talking amongst each other, so you can say, you know, Maplemere's really strong in this. What are they doing
Mhm.
to get that strength, and how can we, so is there like a big file somewhere where you each one can look up?
So that's part of the work of our elementary literacy committee that we're doing. So we got together this summer, we compared data, we dug in, we looked at the demographic differences, the strengths, weaknesses. And so we really started to do kind of a thorough review. Part of that literacy attestation that was due to the state in September, we actually had to do basically an internal audit to say, here's all the resources, where do we rank ourselves? And so that kind of kickstarted our work. So from that, we followed up with some professional development. Now we're digging into what are the resources we have in-house and how can we kind of maximize what we know is working really well, and then how are we going to kind of move forward together? So that work is happening. It's just, as you know, a very detailed process that we're still moving through.
Thank you.
It's a constant comparison. Our coaches coming together, they meet monthly, math coaches, literacy coaches. There's so many opportunities for them to share the greatness that's going on at each one of their schools. So as a matter of fact, on Monday, we're going to be at Willow Ridge to see some Leader in Me great practices, and all of the schools will be there to see what can they take away to grow their own program. So it across the board, we're constantly looking at how we share. So that's our big file.
That's your big file.
Are all 4 elementaries using UFly or just a couple of them?
At Maplemere, we started using Foundations about 6 years ago.
And that takes the place of. All right, joining us to celebrate Willow Ridge. Up next, we have Principal Polino.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity for us to talk today a little bit about and celebrate some of the successes that we've had in over the last instructional year. At Willow Ridge, we're happy to report some growth in both obviously ELA and math. As you can tell on the screen here, we've increased our overall proficiency rate 9% in ELA from the 2024 school year, and in math we went up 4% from the 2024 school year. Going to Mr. Belante's point, each cohort from cohort to cohort did increase as well. So, which we're happy to see. So it's not just like one large area, one growth from 3rd to 4th grade, and then maybe 4th to 5th grade went down. Every grade level went up cohort wise. And the next slide you'll see is celebrating some of that growth. Our 3rd to 4th grade cohort increased 15% in their proficiency in ELA, and then our 4th to 5th grade cohort increased 17% proficiency in math. So those are just 2 areas that we wanted to share. We have our literacy coach, Mrs. Adams, and then our math coach, Ms. Riddock, do a fantastic job helping our teachers, providing that instructional support for their teachers and looking at data to see how we can make these improvements in growth throughout the building K through pre-K, really through 5. I do want to point out as well that it's not on the screen, but our science, we're very proud of our 5th grade science results. If you're probably remember that 5th grade started taking the science assessment last year in 2024. Prior, it was given in 4th grade. So last year was the first year of the 5th grade test. And last year we had a 45% proficiency rate, which was very good, even compared to the state. And this year last year, we had a 60% proficiency rate for 5th grade for science, which is a very difficult and challenging assessment. And just gotta give a lot of credit to our science TOSA, Ms. Aldrich, who's fantastic working with our teachers, and then our work with our literacy coach as well, and our classroom teachers integrating a lot of our science into our literacy instruction as well. That's really a point of pride for us that we feel like we've done a great job at the building. Area of improvement. One of the things we noticed is for the last 2 years, our 3rd grade cohorts have really struggled on these assessments, only to show significant growth going into 4th grade. I had an opportunity to have a good conversation with Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Anthon and Dr. Genestri when they came and visited the building last month. And one of the things we talked about was the test and the utility of the tests and whatnot. And what we try to do is look at areas and pull out skills that are more generalizable that kids can utilize, not just on a New York State assessment, but also in life in general. So some of the things we've noticed just from our anecdotal evidence from being inside classrooms, and then with the state test is sort of our hypothesis here is this idea of like work stamina and developing perseverance. So we noticed a lot of kids, we don't want to give them these long assessments and practice them like in first, second grade. So they're ready for third grade. But on the flip side, it is the first time they take it. And sometimes that can be quite a shock for them. So we've really not focused too much on test prep. However, we're trying to find opportunities to increase stamina and help students develop perseverance, which they can utilize in every facet of life, whether it's a test taking situation or other situations. So that's our big area of improvement that we're trying to work on K-5 with our students. Some of our areas of focus, as you can tell, is we're continue refining our MTSS process for both math and reading. Included in that, I know we talked about a little bit about UFly. Just have to give credit for Glendale a few years ago. They shared it. I know you asked the question about do we share, do we talk about some of the practices that have been effective in our schools. And Glendale was sharing about how effective UFly was. So we had sent some teachers over to observe, and we've rolled out UFly as well. We're like a year behind them, but we're fully implemented K through 2. And that's been a great additional piece to add in, because I thought we do a fantastic job teaching writing and comprehension, but phonics piece, we were teaching it, but this has streamlined us and given us a scope and sequence to ensure that all kids are getting the same instruction. And then we're working on instructional coaching around the gaps discovered through data analysis, and not just with the state tests, but we also, part of our MTSS process, we have 3 benchmarking periods, as Dr. Kozakowski had mentioned, in literacy. And then math, we're giving unit assessments throughout the year, as well as the Ames Web assessment for screening. And we're taking those data points, meeting with teachers, and making sure that we can identify and pull out areas that we need to fill gaps in across different grade levels, because different cohorts of kids will have different needs. Sometimes we have kids that they're great comprehenders, but they might struggle with vocab, or their phonics skills might not be up to par. And then it might be flipped in the grade level below. It might be completely different. So we're working on making sure that those kids, that we're identifying those gaps and providing the necessary supports to help kids, continue to make improvements. So any questions for me at Willowridge?
You still use Dibbles?
No.
Is that?
No, it's
I know that
very
was an
similar.
old-
It's Ames Web.
Ames
Similar.
Web.
Yeah.
Before you fly, can you give me a brief description of UFly again?
So it's a scope and sequence of phonics, and I'm sure Karen can give you, and I could even send you a quick overview. But it's essentially there's these 30-minute lessons that tackle different components of phonics, and so letter sound relationship. One of the things we liked about UFly was that the writing component is, as Ms. Delaplante had noted, so the kids are not only getting that sound symbol relationship down, but they're also working on the orthographic piece, which is the writing of the letters and letter formation and things like that. So,
And this is maybe more broader than just for you, but you talked about demographics. Our goal doesn't matter what the demographics are. We still want to get every student to a certain level, right? That's our thinking
Yes.
generally. I just need to ask that. Thank you.
correct. Yep. Of course.
I have a question just more generally for all the grade school teachers. As we have teachers retiring and then we're bringing in new teachers. I know for me professionally, my first few years were periods where I grew and learned a lot. When I coached my son in soccer, the first year was quite a challenge. Then you learn things as far as skill set and how to handle kids and whatnot. And so as we're bringing on new teachers, particularly in those younger grades where I would think, could be a big impact, right? In preschool, kindergarten, first grade. Are we, as principals, are you, making sure, which I'm sure you are, I'm just want an understanding of how is the onboarding and support, is it different for new teachers versus, your more seasoned teachers? Because, I would think there would be, because my kids, they've had some of the same teachers all the way through. And so, you have a teacher and you're like, okay, this teacher has got things down. And I think a lot of it's because they have a lot of experience and so, but I have a niece and a nephew who are just starting out teaching, and, I'm sure they're learning themselves.
So yeah, I think there's a system in place. There's multi-layers of support, and feel free guys to jump in with this. But first off, the district level, every new teacher gets a mentor, and we also have a new teacher program. I can tell you the elementary schools with our instructional coaches, typically are, I don't speak for you guys, but I know we've talked about this. We'll prioritize and talk to our coaches about hey, we have 3 brand new classroom teachers coming in this year, so they'll book coaching cycles with them in the beginning of the year to make sure they're helping them set up the classroom and create that foundation. Also, they're doing a lot of work with them over the summer, like summer curriculum work and things like that to help bring them up to speed. You can only give them so much because you can only handle so much at one time and it can get overwhelming, but we're very fortunate, and our teachers are very fortunate at Sweet Home that we, at the elementary level, to be able to provide them with that support, because it is very challenging, especially when you talk about the whole child. I mean, it goes beyond like literacy and math. It's the social emotional piece and like classroom management and all the other pieces that fall in there. A lot of our leadership focus, they don't come out of college having that knowledge. So it's definitely multi-layered, and we have definitely like it's almost like safety nets to help and catch these folks when they're coming into us and learning our systems and then helping our kids learn and succeed. So I think, honestly, the brand new teachers in our district are not, maybe if they went to another district, by this time of the year, they'd already be like a 3rd-year teacher there, because we're accelerating. I think we're accelerating that growth process because we're providing so much support to them. I remember my first year teaching, I just, it was like, oh, here's your first grade class. And it was just, you had to go figure it out. And it depended on how, fortunately I had some great colleagues that helped me through it. And that's another piece that we have layered in too, is that's sort of like an expectation at the grade levels that we're going to help support our newer teachers to that grade level, or even if they're just new to the profession in general, it's their first time having their own classroom.
The work that our coaches do, they are right in the classrooms to help model for the viewers so that comfortable, giving the reins back to them, or the coach is still there while the new thing to offer support and feedback. And I really think that our newer teachers coming in are comfortable with getting feedback and letting people come into their rooms to help them. I do have to model, curriculum or new way of doing how to script that you're reading word for word of what all 4 of those things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to take a moment to brag on our leaders a little bit more. So our coaches are phenomenal. They are working really closely with our new teachers. But we have our principals also, they come in and they are a part of the new teacher orientation. That you just don't see that happening every place, in every district. They have a strong hand in helping to help our teachers come into Sweet Home and know who we are here in Sweet Home. And they all are a part of that work. So we're just very fortunate. So I think without further ado, we're going to move on to our middle school, and joining us to celebrate our middle school is Principal Doria.
Thank you. And thank you guys for inviting us to come tonight. I know it's a real treat, come to a board meeting on a snowy night. And I just want to, thank you guys. I know we have a couple students in our building that are your children. So I appreciate that you trust us at the middle school and send your kids to us. And I hope we're doing a good job in right by your kids. Before I kind of dive into our numbers, I want to give a big shout out to our teachers. For those of you who have not visited the middle school recently, please come. We'd love to have you. Middle school is magic, right? You get a 6th grader who needs a hug and an 8th grader who doesn't want anything to do with you, but the next day they might. It's a really special age range, and for our district, it's the first time our kids come together, and that's like that. They're all Panthers. So there's a lot going on, and it takes a very special teacher to thrive in that environment. And so I feel really lucky to work in a place where we have many teachers who are exceptional. So we'll talk about some highlights tonight, but I just want to give them, I know because there's a lot of teachers, our off-core teachers too. Everybody's part of kind of celebrating or getting our students on a better track. So first, before I kind of dive into this, I just want to say, as a school, we're trying to shift our focus to academics and make it a priority at the middle school. So our school-wide WIG this year, the students picked it out, and it's to increase their grade in one subject area each quarter. So we track that. We take the cumulative GPA of all of our grade levels and pool that together. And we have a little competition amongst the grade levels. Eighth grade this year, quarter one, edged everybody out with an average of 90.56. And sixth grade was close behind at 90.2. Unfortunately, somebody's got to be in last place, and that was seventh grade this time, but we try to encourage them, build them up to, challenge the other grades. We have quarter two closing Friday. So that's kind of one step we take to just kind of put it on the forefront of our students. Like, this is important. Your grades are important. They matter. Because our feeling at the middle school is if we can keep them in and keep them excited about school and get them into the high school with that feeling, that's going to set them up for success for the next 4 years at the high school. So kind of going hand in hand with that, I know we had some of you guys come to our champions, our Breakfast of Champions, or quarter one. We celebrate all students who are on honor roll. We scheduled for one day. Totally miscalculated. We had like over 450 kids on honor roll, so we had to have 2 separate celebrations, which was awesome. So we're looking forward to continue doing that the rest of the school year. And I say that all to just kind of tie into these results. It's tough for a middle school kid because they don't really see this score until the following school year. They're looking at their report card and how they do at their final averages. For us as educators, this is important, but for the student, it's tough to kind of get them like to really buy into that. But we do have some highlights to celebrate here, and I'll talk about math. For our math program, if you want to go ahead here, Dr. Genestri. This is our third year with a new math program. I know Dr. Kozakowski talked about elementary, and at the middle school, we chose Desmos, which is very similar to what the elementary schools are doing. A little different rollout, so we just went all in from grades 6 through 8 2 years ago. So this is our third year using that program, and I'm really proud to say our seventh grade team has increased from 52% to 54% proficient. Math is tough for kids. You'll talk to them in the middle school, and they'll say it's a really challenging subject. And that's a tough area to grow in. I give a lot of credit to our seventh grade teachers. Also at seventh grade, we start differentiating and offer accelerated math. So that continues on to the eighth grade. And I know Dr. Genestri mentioned last week, that he was pretty proud of the numbers of kids that take algebra at the middle school. So kind of going back to my first year at the middle school, which was 2023, we had 57 students enrolled in algebra, and this year we have 96 students enrolled in algebra. So we're really trying to encourage those students to challenge themselves. That does put a lot of pressure on our teachers, and I know they take that very seriously. Ms. Turner is our algebra teacher, so she takes a lot of pride in preparing the students to be successful. And similarly with science, in 2023, we had 60 students in living environment, now biology. This year, we have 87 students in that class. So we're really trying to encourage the students to be accelerated before they go to the high school. So those are some of the positive gains that we have, kind of all tying in with, Ames Web. We started that last year at the middle school, and I would say an area of growth is obviously our ELA scores, but kind of using that data from Ames Web to actually target the skills that our students need. So right now we have our interventionists, our reading teachers, and our math interventionists really working with that data exclusively. Last school year, we really put a focus on data teaming, making that a priority. And then this year, we've expanded to include classroom teachers on that data team too, and trying to reach out and really incorporate more folks in that process to get that data and actually use it in the classroom. Obviously, in our building, we have many more teachers than like a third grade team at an elementary. Our, seventh grade team is much larger, so it's a little bit more challenging to roll things out. So we try to focus one subject at a time. So over the past couple years, we had the Desmos rollout, and we also had Open SciEd with science. So both those areas, we've seen increases. I know we don't have science included in this slide, but our proficiency increased from 52% last year to 56% in 2025. So we have some areas of growth. And then our area of improvement, our ELA scores, dipped down 1 percentage point since from the 2024 to 2025. And I've kind of prioritized that in terms of professional development and some strategies for our teachers this year. In talking with our teachers, it's been a long time since they've received some training and put a focus on ELA, just because there's been other priorities in line. And so this year we've had some time with a lady from BOCES who comes and works with our teachers, and I participate with that. So they're working with the literacy briefs, and we're really looking at this information and trying to, transition that into some practices in the classroom. But it's about prioritizing things in our building and trying to just kind of keep focus on one thing. And so we've been doing that with science and math, and kind of now we're shifting focus over to ELA over the next couple years would be our plan. One thing I forgot to mention is that we did add last year something called Math Lab for our 8th grade students. And this year we expanded to 7th grade. So that's a class every other day where students get actual help from a math teacher at that grade level. So I do believe that's also helping, those results go up. We have discussed something similar to that for ELA as well in the coming years, because that has been successful for some of our students. So I think I covered everything, but I'll take questions from you guys.
Is the algebra the Regents exam?
Yes,
Take that in 8th grade and it's a 9th grade credit, correct?
correct. So when students leave the middle school, they have the opportunity to achieve 3 high school credits, one for algebra, one for living environment, now biology, and a world language credit.
And more importantly, it's being encouraged at the middle school, correct?
Correct.
Stuff. What do you think the problem is in ELA?
I don't know if I would use the word problem. I think it's a challenge that we were trying to overcome. I think it could be many different things. I think as a building, we have great teachers who are working with our students. When we look at our data in AIMSweb, I believe Mr. Polino might have mentioned, sometimes it's reading comprehension, sometimes it's vocabulary. We've discussed as a building trying to really focus on vocabulary because that seems to be where kids struggle, is they can't identify how to properly respond to a question. So that's something we're hoping to really focus in on as a team. We were able to pull all of our 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade ELA teachers for professional development in December, which was really powerful just to get the group together, kind of start looking at best practices. And so we're hoping to really continue doing that forward.
So Mr. Belani talked about cohorts. Can you look back in this AIMSweb thing and look at the other cohorts and see if that group is progressing as?
You can, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, we only used AIMSweb for the past 2 years. So we have the ability, like today, we're looking at data team for our grade 8 students. We're pull the student up and I'm able to look at 6 different assessments through AIMSweb, all the subgroups, and see exactly how that student progressing. We use STAR previous to that, which we can still consider, but it's not apples to apples. So it's very difficult to say, hey, you were this on STAR and that's going to correlate to this on AIMSweb.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you guys are letting me off too easy. I feel like Mr. Polino really got it tough up here.
Don't sit there and talk, just go.
All right, I'm out.
So thank you to all of our presenters. I think I want to call out the fact that all of our schools are in good standing, or local support is what the new designation is for New York State. And that's not an easy feat. When that designation is made, it's a cross-section of your subgroups and how your subgroups are performing across the board. There's a look at how your attendance is going for the particular students that we're looking at. There are all these elements that come together to form many layers to give you that designation of good standing or local support. And so I think it's a wonderful place to be, and that we have great leadership, great educators in our district, and that's why we are where we are. They're helping our phenomenal students get to that place. So I just wanted to call out the fact that we are in a great place when it comes to New York State accountability.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all for.
Great job.
Yes,
Great job.
you braved the snow, and I'm so appreciative. Thank you all. Have a good night.
You're
Drive
more than
safe,
welcome to
stay
stay
warm.
for the rest, but
Drive safely,
Yes,
please.
Please drive safely.
Get the snowshoes out.
I was so worried about you.
Yeah.
I'm like texting you. I'm sending you emails. Driving. Oh my God.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Have a good night.
Aye.
See ya.
Thank you.
Hey, just a couple more updates. I know we did the presentation last week on the high school course handbook. That's up for vote tonight. Just wanted to see if everybody was, there were any questions regarding that. So I left that on here. And then we have unveiled to the staff and our community the capital construction project schedule. If you go on our website, Christine Lyle put a great user-friendly big print timeline together of the phases of the project. And I highly encourage you to go there. I sent that link to our families last week. As we know, work has already started. We had another Maple-Mere user group meeting yesterday. We met probably 10 teachers in the room and with our architects to go over what they think of the inside of a classroom should look like and how it should be designed for maximum.
Just to clarify, the inside of the addition, the classroom addition.
Classroom addition. That's what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said. You're
I know.
clarifying.
I just want to make sure that we didn't, if anybody's watching.
Yeah.
We didn't decide what the rest of the
No,
classroom.
no. Well, the addition, they had ideas on what the
Yes.
rooms would look like. Even hallways, what the hallways would look
Correct.
like, bathrooms and everything, you name it, that was in there. Great meeting yesterday. We're gonna do another one in probably a week or so, I think.
They were going to come back with us in about 5 days and do another schedule of meetings.
Yep.
To talk
So-
about potentially the outside of the building and what that might look like.
Yep. That was a topic of discussion, and the user group is going to have some ideas, but obviously we're gonna ask for the board's input because the outside, the facade of the addition is in our neighborhood, and it's going to be seen by our community members for eternity. So obviously your input on what the outside should look like, but there was some talk in the room yesterday that it shouldn't just blend in with the building, but maybe be distinct because it's hard to match a brick, one that's been worn over 50, 60 years to a brand new one. And so there was some play with making it look distinct.
They were also pretty clear they didn't want all glass like it was shown in the.
Yes, no, definitely not an all glass building for sure. And then finally, just a reminder, our next board meeting, February 3rd, is in room 402 here at Sweet Home High School. This room will be a polling place for February 3rd for the special election for state senate. And so we have moved our board meeting to room 402, which is off of the library in the high school. We'll have signage for people so they can easily get in there. I would suggest people come in the same door they would for district office, and then we'll leave that door open into the high school and have signage to get the public into 402. And that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Genestri. All right, so moving on, we have upcoming events. Some of our Maple-Mere teachers that were here after McTeacher Night was tonight. Tomorrow, Heritage Heights has their dance and the middle school has their winter activity night. Saturday, we have high school instrumental, choral, and vocal jazz solo fest at Ken West. And then next Friday is the Willow Ridge Sweetheart Dance.
I believe we have Music Fest coming up. I apologize, I didn't have a slide, but Music Fest is coming up February
2nd, whatever that Sunday is.
Yep, the weekend before the Super
February
Bowl,
2nd.
Sunday at University of Buffalo.
Sunday the 1st, February 1st, Sunday.
That Sunday, whatever that Sunday is.
Yeah.
Okay. Open session per board policy 1510. This open session is for topics related to tonight's agenda. Is anyone interested in speaking? Okay, moving on to new business. We did discuss everything last week. We have our normal special education and preschool class placements.
Yeah, it was a light month, actually. It was 62 pages, but everything seemed to again, thank you to all the different all the different special ed people, the PT, the OT, the speech. They just do a phenomenal job with our kids with special needs. So thank you.
Okay, monthly financial reports, obsolete property, which was some kitchen equipment and buses, correct? Our first read on our revised policies. Our high school course planning guide, the Maplemere temporary classroom lease renewal, and our state environmental quality review act for said temporary buildings. And then we have amendment to the district safety plan for DSHA's law, acceptance of donations. And then we have our CVA legal matters. And then something that was discussed last week, we have our decision on the suspension appeal. Okay, so any questions, comments before? Okay, so may I have a motion and a second on agenda items A through M?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, pass. So moving on. I just had my spot and I lost it. Informational items. Mr. Coleman, would you like to get us started?
Yes. Throughout the end of December and up to this point in January, a lot of progress has been made for student government. After touching up on the last few key points of senior tiles with Mr. Lucenti, I put out the official sign-up sheet out to the senior class, and we will be doing this project the week before the midwinter break. I also finalized the virtual suggestion box, which is now up, and for any student to fill out and make a recommendation for student government to try and fulfill. Our Vice President Summer Mack and I, as well, met with Dr. Lucci a few times these past few weeks discussing our plans for a mental health seminar and a table we plan to do in March and also in May during Mental Health Awareness Month. Student government as a whole has continued planning out a winter pep rally we plan to have before February break, along with our Spirit Week calendar that same week. Before midterm and Regents Week, I worked with the Academic Student Life and DEI Committee to put together a Black History Month wall and some educational videos which will be displayed throughout February. Summer and I as well attended their and the Sustainability, Wellness, Food and Nutrition Committee's meeting last week, and they're working on a mini rose sale for Valentine's Day the week before break, as well as working to provide higher quality feminine hygiene products in the bathrooms. Lastly, the Technology Committee continues to work on improved apps and tech-related things that are accessible to students.
Marianne?
Just a couple things. Scott and I attended the meeting with the construction people and what their vision was, and it just amazed me that they're so well organized. Like they are just top class. I
Yes.
mean, they brought up things that I would never, ever think of in the minutia of things, and it was great to hear the teachers' input. The other thing is I attended the Maplemere PTA meeting. We talked about some successes like the holiday gift shop. But the other thing, for next meeting, could you have that film from the young boy, Nico?
Yes.
A young boy actually designed one of the hats that Josh Allen is wearing. And it was inspirational, I tell you.
Yes, I will play that next
Yeah,
meeting.
thank you.
Yes.
And I just had a request for a presentation. I don't know where you can put it, but I noticed the pyramid, the food pyramid has changed. I'd like to just have a presentation on if that's going to affect our kids.
I'll have to check with Christy Sajak on that because I have not seen how it's impacting New
Right,
York
that's-
or how it's coming down to schools. But I will get with Christy and see if there's any movement on that. I've heard nothing.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Johnson?
Okay, a handful of things. I've had 2 DEI meetings since our previous board meetings. One of them happened to be yesterday. The they'd sent out a thought exchange thing with some questions about some of the things we're working on there. And I have to say, the responses from the students was very interesting, and it's just a lot of great input coming back to us. And what I was happy to see, and I suspect that Dr. Wilson and Javon saw the same thing, is the kids really want to be challenged more, our students, more, you know, they were looking for more on things. And I kind of like to see that. It was great information. We had our policy committee, a building use committee, the meeting with Maple. We actually had a second one yesterday. I know you were probably working. And again, we went through a lot of great information there. We held it at Maplemere, so the teachers were in person this time to get a chance to look at it, and they could walk around and explain things on the plans as we're going along. Our architects put together some really good options and a lot of good discussion as to where we're going with the next step. And I know Mr. Ryan was going to be talking with the rest of his staff at his next staff meeting. I know about what they were doing with that.
Mr. Johnson, if I
sorry,
could
go ahead.
just, the architect team from Young and Wright will also do something similar. They're going to be at our next athletic use committee meeting, which is March the 10th, I believe, because if you remember the way that we staged the project, the Maplemere additions kind of go off first, but right behind it are some of the work back here in the athletic fields. So they'll do a similar process with our user group on the athletic use committee to kind of get their sense as to what they'd like to see back there and to kind of build and work on that design piece of it for that area as well.
Cool, thank you. I attended the high school PTSA meeting virtually, and it was a small turnout and probably one of their fastest meetings. It was done in 20 minutes. I know they're working on their stuff, dollars for scholars, scholarships that they give out every year. They still want to give out four of them at $1,200 a piece. They're going to be at the craft show doing a basket raffle. And let's see, currently have 114 members. And they were doing a blood drive, sorry. I think that was probably you guys, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they brought it up. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. The teacher rep brought it up. That's where it came up. I was gonna say, I didn't think the PTSA would be doing that. Thanks. And lastly, I listened to the governor's state of the state, which, whatever. I provided some information on that last week related to schools. That's all.
Taglia?
I have nothing tonight.
Mr. Ribino?
I was unable to attend the Heritage Heights PTA meeting. It just kind of slipped through my calendar. A lot of doctors in the last couple of weeks. It's difficulty on a personal note. I'm traveling to Washington DC and February 1st, so I'll be missing some of that activity. I had given to Dr. Genestri a list of things we're going to campaign for. And just generally, there's some of the same, but issues are very well researched, tied to House bills and maybe Senate bills, depending on the issue. Again, as you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in DC with these issues and the funding of schools, but generally it's fully funded and modernized IDEA. Again, it's similar, many things in the last year. Expanding and strengthening and retaining educator workforce, teachers, prioritizing student health, safety, good thing. We got someone in the audience. Promoting digital access and digital literacy, and I think where Dr. Genestri can help me the most is if you go to the ESCA type numbers, Title I type stuff. If I, again, have specifics for our school districts. That was a good part of the conversation with the congressman.
Yeah, well,
That's all I got. Thank you.
no, thanks for doing that. We'll get you those notes.
Thank you.
Yeah, first, I'd just like to thank Dr. Genestri for outlining some of the things you look at for a snow day, because as board member, I do get a lot of questions from family. I've gotten 3 text messages tonight. Are we having a snow day tomorrow? Do whatever you can. So I appreciate that, but
Tell them to wear their pajamas inside out and
yeah.
we'll have a conversation tomorrow.
so I attended the PTSA meeting for the middle school. I also attended the policy committee, which we had the readings, were, are on the agenda here. And then the other piece, which I just wanted to discuss just briefly, is the athletic council. The getting together, and as Mr. Feldman already mentioned, that group looking at prioritizing and what's the look and the facilities that make the most sense. We have a lot of athletics here, and so, and a lot of different programs, and there's a lot of interest from different groups as to what the fields would look like, and again prioritizing. So that's important, I think, work of that committee, and also getting feedback from other stakeholder groups. And the other piece in that meeting that I think is equally important is just talking about the importance of our student athletes, understanding that they are leaders within, and they are representing Sweet Home, and in developing and looking at how can we continue to increase the expectations and the standards that we have for them, and not only them, but coaches, and have a competitive and strong athletic program. I think we have a really good program, but we can always continue to work on getting better and improving. And in particular, the younger students in grade school and middle school, how do we, they're in essence a recruiting class for the high school programs, and how can we work to help them be excited and ready to engage in those programs as they get into the higher grades. So, I think that's very important and productive work. And I know as when I look back at my high school years, the academics were important, but if I could do it again, I'd probably do more, play another sport or two, because that really does stick with you in many ways, more than sometimes some of the classes, and not, obviously academics is important, but you learn a lot of really good lessons through athletics. I think we all know that, and not only athletics, but the other extra programs we have in music and art and whatnot. So, glad to see that that's something committees continue to focus on as well.
Fun work, but important work too.
That it? Okay. So I had the Willow Ridge PTO meeting the first day back, which the 3rd, I believe. So they're looking to plan for the remainder of the year. They want to set up a 5th grade committee for end of the year events for the 5th graders. Let's see, they had 4 new staff members and 2 returning staff members over the last couple of weeks. So that is good for them. They're looking at their winter benchmarks, and a couple of things coming up. They have a science night on February 27th. And then they are looking for coaches for girls on the Run for 8-week program for 3rd to 5th grade young ladies. I also attended the athletic council meeting. We do have that meeting with Young and Right on the 10th. We're looking at everything from the color of the turf to what the dugout should look like, batting cages, pitching mounds, and then possibly if we have to rotate because of the direction of the sun and who's, so again, it is a lot of, things that we need to work on and talk to Young and Right about. And then, as to Brian's point, the culture of our Sweet Home Sports and coaches and athletics and what it means to the community and everything. So that's all that I have. So moving on, we have our second open session. Would anyone like to address the board? Okay, moving on to personnel. May I have a motion and a second for personnel, 1, teaching and administrative, and 2, service?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That leads us to the end of the meeting. May I have a motion and a second to move to executive session for matters relating to an employment history of a particular individual, and we will not be returning after executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so action will be taken at the